Hello guys, welcome back to Car Obsession and welcome to another point of view review. This time I'm in the new Ford Mustang Mach-E. Now I know of course the Mustang name and badge has caused quite a stir in the automotive world, but I will try not to focus too much on that because there is so much more to this car than just a name and a badge. In case you don't know, in case you've been living under a rock, this is Ford's fully electric SUV. So yes, to give it the Mustang name is somewhat controversial. Well, very controversial, many would argue. Anyway, let's park that to one side and hit the road. Put it into drive, make sure I'm good, and away we go. So I've been waiting quite a long time to get my hands on this car, but you know what they say, better late than never. Now the low speed ride in this car is pretty abysmal, so you may find that my head is bobbing here, there and everywhere, for which I can only apologise in advance. I'm doing my best to keep my neck and my head rock steady, but yes, the low speed ride in the Mustang Mach-E doesn't really allow for that. Because as you can probably see, yes, there is quite a lot of movement underneath me. The Mach-E is quite flexible when it comes to options because you can either have a standard range or an extended range, which is what I've got, or you can have it with rear-wheel drive or all-wheel drive, which again is what I've got. The car I'm in has a starting price of £58,230, or is it £58,320? I keep getting my numbers muddled up, but either way, it's a little over 58,000. Now, if you can't quite stretch to that, you can get the standard range rear-wheel drive Mustang Mach-E for I want to say, is it 42,500 or 45,500? I'll have to correct myself with subtitles. I do apologise, I've got plenty of numbers going through my head right now. So if you go for the standard range, you get a battery that has a capacity of 75.5 kilowatt hours, and that can offer a range up to 273 miles. Whereas if you go for the extended range like I have, you get a battery capacity of 98.8 kilowatt hours, meaning you can get a range up to 379. Now, if you go for the all-wheel drive version, the range does fall down a bit. So, for example, in this car, instead of 379, it is in fact 335. When it comes to performance, the electric motor produces 351 horsepower along with 580 newton meters of torque. Whoa, and as you can see, it's pretty quick. Speaking of which, this will hit 62 miles per hour in just 5.8 seconds, which is hot hatch territory. And the top speed, in case you're really wondering, is... Sorry, I was slouched forward, wasn't I? The top speed, in case you're wondering, is 111 miles per hour. In regard to charging times, you can get this from 10% to 80% in 45 minutes when using a 150 kilowatt charger. In case this car hasn't got enough performance for you, you can actually get a GT version which offers 565 horsepower along with, get this, 830 newton meters of torque. Yes, you heard me right, 830 newton meters. 0 to 62, and that is, as you can guess, under 5 seconds. Although this is a fully electric SUV, it is pretty good fun to drive. It is pretty rewarding. Yes, okay, in the corners there is body lean. You can't escape it. This car is big and heavy. This is well over 2 tons. So to expect nice flat cornering, you would be, well, that would be a very unrealistic expectation. But the Mustang Mach-E does perform well in the corners. The steering is responsive, although, like the Ford Cougar I had a little earlier this year, it is a little bit too keen to self-centre. Sometimes you're midway through the corner and the steering wheel feels like it's tugging itself away from you to head back to the centre. There are a choice of 3 driving modes available, so if I hit the little Mustang up there, I've got, these are very pretentious, I've got Whisper, Active or Untamed, which, to put it into Queen's English, is is Eco, Normal and Sport. That's the best way of putting it, but Ford thought it'd be clever and come up with clever names, which, yeah, I'm not a big fan of. At the moment I've got it in Active, but if you put it into Untamed, then yes, it becomes even more responsive. And you may pick up on some fake engine noise there. Hopefully it's come through on my clip on microphone. If not, I'll try to use my GoPro audio. But down here on the touchscreen, which is a 15.5 inch display, by the way, Ford, Tesla called, they want their touchscreen back. You've got something called propulsion mode. And when you have it on, like I do now, I've got no one behind me, I can back off. There's a low grumbling noise, almost as if Ford have piped in a bit of proper Mustang V8 noise. I don't particularly like or dislike it. I'm quite indifferent to it, if I'm going to be honest. But if you do want a bit more character when you're driving along, then it is there in case you want or need it. Oh, it's really foggy down here, isn't it? I do need to preserve my range, because I do need to get back home. So we'll put it back into Active for the time being. Going back to the cornering side of things, interestingly, the brake pedal feedback is actually better in this car compared to the rear-wheel drive version I drove a few weeks back with pocket rockets. In that car, the brakes either felt on or off, whereas in this car, the modulation is better, which is strange. The ride, if I'm honest, isn't the greatest. When you do get up to speed on a smooth-ish road like this, it is bearable, but yes, the low-speed ride is jiggly, busy and firm. So if you do want an electric SUV that will glide across the tarmac, the Mustang Mach-E is not the car for you. I do just need to put the heaters on. I'm starting to steam up a bit in here, and the visibility is poor enough as it is with all this fog. That me fogging up inside as well. Hopefully that's not interfering with the audio too much. It probably is now. There you go, that's better. I can probably turn that off now. As much as the ride is jiggly, on the plus side, the seats are very, very comfortable. The leather is really nice and supple, and it really moulds to your body. So the ride isn't good, but the seats do save the day. Yeah, they're very sumptuous to sit in. I can imagine you can do quite a long journey in this and be okay. Well, me and Pocket Rockets did do a long journey. We travelled all the way to Scotland from Cornwall, so yes, I don't think you can get many longer journeys than that in the UK. Yeah, this is good fun in the corners, and the back end can be a little bit frisky when it wants to be, so just be aware of that if you're thinking about buying this car. When it comes to refinement, I'd say that's fair for a car of this size with 19-inch alloys. There is a bit of road noise coming into the cabin, but not to the point where I feel like I need to shout at you or really raise my voice. And the wind noise is, I'd say, what you would expect from a car like this, a high-riding SUV. Although the body shape is quite coupe-like, isn't it? I do really like the look of this car, to be honest. Especially in this absolute black, which is a standard colour, but it makes the Mach-E look really menacing and evil. If Darth Vader had an electric SUV, I reckon he'd have this. National speed limit. Just look how quick this thing is. Literally pinned me back into my seat. God only knows what the GT must be like. That must be insane. That must be on a complete whole new universe of power and speed. At no point have I driven this car and thought, it's okay, but if only it had more power. So I think you'd need to be a bit unhinged to really want the GT version, because yeah, this has plenty. Even the rear-wheel drive version has got plenty. In regard to what you get as standard, well, that is quite a lot. 19-inch alloys, LED lights, keyless entry, reversing camera, front and rear parking sensors. You also get Ford's technology pack as standard. If you go for the all-wheel drive, that would be an optional extra. If you went for the rear-wheel drive, I've got this 10.2-inch digital display in front of me. The very large 15.5-inch touchscreen with DAB radio, Bluetooth, smartphone connectivity and navigation, heated front seats, heated steering wheel, dual zone climate control, and many more features. Yes, you're not wanting for much in this car. Although, having said that, I am a bit disappointed at this price point that the outer rear seats are not heated. Personally, it makes no difference to me. I'm not sat in them. But when I had the Ford Cougar, which is that was a cheaper car than this, that had heated outer rear seats. So why not have it on the Mach-E? Just little things like that don't make sense. Also, bearing in mind this is a bespoke electric SUV which has been built from the ground up. Just have a look at the key, if I can fish it out of my pocket, which I'm struggling to do at this moment in time. Talk amongst yourselves. Here we go. So, bearing in mind, this is a bespoke electric SUV which costs almost 60 grand, and this is the key. Now, I'm still looking at the road, not the key, don't worry. That's the key, if you can see it. It looks like it belongs to a 1 litre Fiesta, so yeah, that is quite disappointing. Other things that annoy me a little bit, for example, on the Speedo, you have your speed, obviously, it's Speedo, but beneath it says ground speed. Why, Ford? Why feel the need to put ground speed on there? I just don't get it. Now, there's probably a good reason for that I don't know. But yeah, it just seems pretentious. I don't need it to say ground speed. I've never got into a car and thought, am I doing airspeed or ground speed? If only there was a message on the dash that told me. Yeah, Ford, that is silly. Another thing that annoys me, now Ford has gone through the effort of making the side profile sleek and aerodynamic. There are no door handles, and you think, oh, that looks quite futuristic. But then Ford has ruined it by fitting clunky door mirrors. I get that if they had the same setup as an Audi e-tron, for example, that would cost more money to produce, but at the same time, why go through the hassle of building quite intricate door access buttons, if that's how you want to describe them, and then fitting big clunky door mirrors? It's things like that make me feel like this car is a little bit conflicted, or it's not quite finished. Other things which make me feel like this car isn't quite ready is, well, the ride, for starters. The ride is just not good enough, if you ask me. But the boot is also quite small. It offers just 402 litres, which is far behind its rivals. That is disappointing. The rear space is impressive though. I will be covering practicality in my main review. Ugh, right. I think I will call it a day soon, particularly as I need to preserve my range in order to get back home, although I will probably charge it on my way home anyway. Guys, if you've got any questions about my experience with this car, or just any general questions about the car itself, then of course drop them in the comments section. I will get back to you as quickly as I can and to the best of my ability. There will be a full review coming that will focus on other things such as practicality and so forth. If you haven't watched it already, there's also a walk around which are more like my static reviews. So if you want an in-depth look of the outside and the inside, be sure to check that video out. But yes, we are almost at a point of coming to an end. I think by this point you'll be glad, because yeah, that road is very bumpy in this car. So you're probably quite full of nausea at this point. Right, there we go. Pop it into park. There we have it, guys. The brand new Ford Mustang Mach-E. I do hope you have enjoyed this video or found it useful. If so, be sure to like, comment and subscribe. If you are subscribed, don't forget to click the bell icon so you get notified every time I make a video. But until the next time, guys, be sure to keep up the car obsession.